Hi, welcome back to my mom life. If you're new here, welcome. I'm Jordan, and today we're making homemade cinnamon bread. Here are the ingredients you're going to need to make this bread. I have some all-purpose flour. You're also going to need some brown sugar, some milk. I'm using whole milk. You can use whatever kind of milk you like. I have 2 eggs. You'll need some instant yeast. I buy the kind in the jar like this. Then you're going to need some cinnamon, salt, and some oil or butter. I'm using oil, but you could use butter if you want. So the first step is to warm up our milk. So I warmed it in the microwave, and then when it was warm, I added it to my stand mixer with my brown sugar, and I gave that a mix with a whisk, and then I added in my instant yeast. I like to always let my yeast activate, so I let it sit for about 5 minutes just until it starts to get nice and foamy and frothy. When that happens, you know that your yeast is good and ready to go. It's not going to fail you. So I always like to do that just so that I don't waste a whole lot of time making bread that doesn't ever rise. So once my yeast was activated, you can see that it gets kind of frothy there. I go ahead and start adding in my other ingredients. So I added in my oil, and then I added in my eggs, and I went ahead and whisked that all together before I put my dough hook on my stand mixer. Now, if you want to do this by hand, you totally can. It's a lot of kneading, and that's totally fine. Sometimes I like to knead bread by hand, but I just find it so convenient to use my stand mixer with my dough hook. So I'm whisking my oil and eggs into my yeast and milk mixture, and then I'm going to add in my flour. I will have measurements for you down in the description box like I always do. This bread is comparable to like a Pepperidge Farm Cinnamon Swirl Bread. You could add raisins into this if you wanted. So I have my flour, my salt, and my cinnamon in there, and now you could see that I put my dough hook on. I'm going to go ahead and give this a mix on medium speed. It looks a lot faster than medium speed because I have it sped up for you, but it is on medium speed, and once it starts coming together, I'm going to let it go for about 10 minutes. So once the 10 minutes are up, it's still going to look a little sticky, and that's totally fine. Do not add more flour. You want this to be a little sticky. If you add more flour, it's just going to mess with the texture of your dough in the end. So here I have let this go for 10 minutes. I'm going to go ahead and remove it from my stand mixer. And then I'm just going to oil the dough ball really well so that it can rise without drying out. I like to just put some oil in my hand and rub it all over the dough. That way I can get the bottom of the dough and everything all covered. It keeps them from sticking, and it also keeps the dough from drying out, like I said. Once I have it covered in oil, I'm going to cover it with a towel and let it rise for about an hour or 2, just depending on how long it takes it to double in size. After an hour, I went ahead and made the cinnamon filling. So you're going to need some butter, brown sugar, and cinnamon. So I'm going to go ahead and melt my butter in the microwave, or just get it nice and soft. Here I have it nice and soft. It just took a few seconds in the microwave. Then I'm going to add in my brown sugar and cinnamon, and that's as easy as it gets for that. You're going to go ahead and do that and set it aside, and then we'll roll out our dough. Okay, here is our dough. It has been rising. It is beautiful. I'm going to go ahead and punch it down. I have some flour here, and I thoroughly cleaned my counter so that I can roll out my dough just straight on my counter. I floured my surface, and I'm just going to get my rolling pin and roll out my dough. You're going to see that I set my glass loaf pan here right in front of where I'm rolling out. That's kind of my guide. I don't want to go any wider than that. So I'm going to go ahead and use my loaf pan as a guide and just keep rolling it out until I get a good sized rectangle. And then we're going to spread our filling out on our dough and roll it up. Now that I have it in my loaf pan, I went ahead and set that aside and let it rise for another 30 minutes or so. And then I'm going to pop it in the oven and bake it up. And this is what it looks like when it comes out of the oven. This bread got a really good rise on it. I could have split this into 2 loaves if I wanted to, but I like the big loaf. I think that it turned out beautiful. It was a nice, beautiful loaf. If you want to try and make this, check out the description box for the recipe. And if you are new to my channel, welcome. I hope you subscribe and stick around. Don't forget to hit the thumbs up button if you liked this video, and I will catch you in my next one. Bye, guys.